Everyone, thank you so much for joining us on AM today. It's the last one in the year 2024. Of course, it's been an eventful year, we must say, and we thank you so much for being a part of it since the beginning of the year up until today. Thank you so much, everyone. I am Sunday Kolawole. I'm not alone on the show today. My compatriot is here with me. Zaida Ibisala.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us again this morning. The last edition, just like Sunday mentioned, for the year 2024, and that lyric is ringing in my head. 30 days after September, June. But of course, one more day to go before the end of 2024, and of course, it will be a wrap. But we're here again to serve you. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
In fact, the first day of the year, you said the year.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Because that will be the first edition of the year. That reminds me of how it was in 2018. It was my very first edition of AM Today. Yeah, it was the first day of the year, and then it happened to be, I think, was it a Monday or Wednesday or Friday? I can't remember really now, but it was an AM Today day.
Okay.
So to say.
Did you deliver a holistic speech on that day? Because the first day of the year is usually synonymous with presidential speeches and all of that. But let's see what the new year has in stock, and of course, a time for reflection as to what exactly has happened and things that have played out in the year 2024. Yeah, we're here again.
All right, let's start with a check on stories making headlines in the national dailies. We start with the Punch newspaper this morning. The Punch newspaper takes the lead. And then let's have some headlines from that paper. The lead headline there reads, Nigeria and Niger border towns live in fear over brewing row. You find that on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Communities in border states plead for peaceful resolution. Debunk Niger leaders' claim of French troops in Nigeria. I think this is leading to some conversation from the international relations scenario.
Of course, yes, and particularly at this time that is happening, look at the current situation in Niger, look at what the agenda of President Bola Tinubu has been since he has some power, moving from one country to the other, trying to strengthen ties, also leading the ECOWAS, and boom, you have this allegation coming from, joined together by a cord, and that allegation...
IA is only the difference between the two names anyway.
Yes, so you can just tell that relationship is very, very close. And the manner in which the man right there in the JHR made that statement, the way he constructed it, the way he passed that message also has led to a lot of reactions from diplomats, from ambassadors commenting on the situation, talking about also what Nigeria also needs to do when you understand that this is a neighbor, and you find external influences also coming into the picture. Nigeria as a big brother has a responsibility, some say, first with Africa. Then can I expand the conversation to the wider world? But the reactions of the president, would there be closer relationship in terms of talks from the two countries? Looking at the fact that democracy is currently suspended in Niger. The Nigeria big brother take a step forward to say, look, come, let's sit down, to trash this out.
The big brother function will only suffice in the democratic setting, so to say, not in the situation of a military junta at the ends of affairs in that country. But whichever way it goes, it is expected that things will get better as the whole scenario goes on. Let's check some more stories here. FG sympathizes with South Korea as 179 die in plane crash. It's a sad one there on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Let's check the bottom part of the paper. Senate gets budget panel report January 31. That's tomorrow. You find details also on page 9. And on pages 4 and 5, in-laws defilement. Lagos challenges convicted doctors acquittal at Supreme Court. You find that story there. It's going to be an interesting read. Please grab a copy and check story there. Nigeria gets World Bank $1.5 billion loan for subsidy removal tax bills. It's on page 22. You begin to wonder what loan are we taking again after we removed subsidy, and then all of these tax bills to show up our economic values and prosperity and we're still talking about $1.5 billion loan. Well, you might want to really get the answer to those questions. Flip to page 22 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We go to the topmost part of the paper, and then we get some stories here. New Bokun gets staff of office, begins rights. You find that on page 27 of the Punch newspaper this morning. I brought you back to life politically. Wike slams orderly. Interesting. Just check details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Ex-US President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. Wow. Get the details on page 2. CBN misappropriated 2.7 trillion naira interests on ways and means. That's coming from the Auditor General. Find that on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. That does it.
Right, from the Punch newspaper, we get to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper, the front page, leading in the front page of the Guardian this morning, you find here, states spend more than earned to further rely on FAC income. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, trying to paint a picture of what the economics will be like in the new year. You also find here many federal roads in poor conditions at Utah, despite Umayya's pledges. Are we short of pledges and promises and, of course, failures? But yes, come out to also say that, look, paucity of funds, some of the reasons why these projects are not going as planned. But let's see what the new year will also be, what the new year holds in terms of road infrastructure in Nigeria. Lagos churches must nightclubs to get noise permits. That's on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper, and I'm imagining what that noise permit would mean. Would it be a free license to even go above board? Okay, let's see. Government wants to make more money, but of course, I'm imagining what that permit will do to those who live in that area, even the organizations themselves. 2027, Alia Akume rift may harm APC's chances. North Central Forum warns. That's Benue politics. Atiku falls full military honors accorded Tinubu's son. Also find Sarah tax Tinubu on assets declaration in presidency. NAS. How well would that go? How soon? Naira between CBN's regulatory pushback and thriving mint market. You just have to look at the right places if you need some of these things. But I tell you it's not available. But when you look closer, you get it. That's it from the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, from the Guardian newspaper, let's move to Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, some stories are making headlines there. Allegations against Nigeria. More knocks for Niger military ruler. Border communities, others hit Chiani. His claims lack evidence. That's coming from Cote d'Ivoire. You find details on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Army destroys 20 illegal refineries, recovers 90,000 liters of fuel. It's on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And let's pay that forward to page 26. High operating costs, multiple taxes, stifle telecom sector. You find details there. Chad holds election after 3-year military rule. It's reported on page 26 as well. Let's check this one. Flight disruptions. Sunset Airport's operations extended to 10 p.m. You find details also here. And let's check some stories on the top part of that paper on the front page. 179 die in South Korea's plane crash. You find details there. Don't expect 2025 budget passage before January 31. Well, that's coming from the Senate. Okay. So Zaid, don't expect that the budget will be passed before January 31st. But you could still expect it on January 31st.
So we'll be running on something, right?
I do not understand. The budget should start running from the 1st of January.
Okay. So does that there will be an extension to the 2024 budget. So let's see.
I think that's going to make it'll be a makeshift arrangement.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, still talking stories. reported on the Daily Trust newspaper. You find this one: how tears from Abuja demolitions blurred Wike's efforts in 2024. It's an analysis. Check details there in the Daily Trust newspaper, specifically on page 32 of the paper. This and many more you find in the Daily Trust newspaper of this morning.
All right, from the Daily Trust newspaper, the Daily Times is next, and on the front page of the Daily Times for today, you find a colorful, beautiful picture right there in the front page of the Daily Times, and that's a cultural carnival right there in Calabar. That's Calabar Carnival 2024. Also here in the Daily Times newspaper, you find here CSOs engaging FCT, Women Affairs Secretaries, address barriers hindering justice for GBV survivors. 2025 will mark turning point for security situation in Southeast, Umai assures. What are the indices for that turning point to happen? Perhaps you might want to get an insight to what Umai is saying in the Daily Times this morning. PDP grieves over mistaken airstrike in Sokoto in Southeast. You also find here also IEA projects, renewable energy for exponential growth in 2025. I will overcome battle with Wike, Governor Fubara says. Heading into the new year, the battle is continuing, right?
Well, I think my view on that would be that someone woke up one day and said, it is his turn to become president. He pursued that confession, and the confession became his possession. So if Fubara is also making a positive confession that, look, I will overcome the battle with Wike, let's see it as if he's also exuding confidence of positive confession. And hopefully, his confession might one day become his possession.
What exactly happens to the battlefield? What that battle usually takes place?
The battlefield remains, but then the grasses will suffer.
Okay, so, all right.
And we hope that the people, well, that's not math you need to do.
What are the grasses in this case?
Let's just hope that that there will be a way. And for me, let's be sincere, I do think that, yes, democracy allows certain things. It allows so many things that should ordinarily not even be in place. There should be a way that leaders of thought, political leaders will still mount more prayer to get this tension, to douse this tension. Because if you say that, yes, it's a democracy, so River State politics is River State politics, the people, like you said, what happens to the grass? At the battlefield, where this battle is raging. I think there should be a way to really look into this matter.
All right, finally from the Daily Times newspaper, Plateau security improving, but not yet perfect, but not perfect yet. That's coming from Muthwang, that's Caleb Muthwang, the governor of Plateau State. You find more in the Daily Times newspaper for today.
Well, that's the size of what we'll be able to take this morning, reviewing the stories making headlines in the national dailies. When we come back after this short break, we'll be taking a retrospective look at the year 2024 that's outgoing. Just like when they say somebody is outgoing chairman.
It's outgoing and ongoing.
Ongoing and outgoing.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting combo, you know. All right, we will take a break now. When we return, we'll look at the year 2024 in retrospect, looking at certain developments in Nigeria and how many things shaped what exactly has been our experience in the year. Please stay with us. We'll be joined by senior journalists. We'll be having the conversation together by then. Please stay with us.
leadership is not a package where you take it and say, here it is, I give you the package. Leadership comes from what you do, how you do it, how you live, what have you have acquired in terms of your training, your experience, your track record, and all that. And what I'm saying is that the young people must strive. They shouldn't expect it to be a parcel delivered by DHL to them. And they must know that nothing counts for it.
Welcome back, everyone. The first issue we'll be looking at this morning is a retrospective look at the year 2024, Nigeria and Pathway to Renewed Hope. We're being joined this morning by a senior journalist, Babatope Okewo. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
How's it been?
Yeah,
Christmas and all. Of course, it's been festivities all over.
Thank God we are alive.
Let's take a look at the year 2024. Like Zaid said, ongoing and outgoing. Of course, it's been an eventful year, so to say. Many issues we would like to look into this morning, but I'd like to start from the fight against corruption in the year 2024. What is your assessment of it?
We have seen institution this year that we saw on the pages of newspapers, properties, maybe about 72 flats, duplex, some two duplexes recovered by EFCC without attaching the name of the person, and it led to insinuation that maybe it was probably former CBN governor or other people like that. So to me,
over 700 duplexes.
yeah, sorry, over 700 duplexes in an expanse of land. Up to now, the president addressed the nation and said, yes, he's going to reveal the owner of the property. But up to now, we are yet to know who is the actual owner.
Beyond the speculations.
Beyond speculations. Then one thing about that I used to say is that if it is issue of corruption, we should not shield anybody, and we should not allow people to speculate or to give a dog a bad name
Just to hang it.
Just to hang it. So we should, when they are doing it, it should just go beyond media trial. It should go to see this person who committed this crime is being prosecuted, is being convicted. There are a lot of cases in court over the years, over these corruption cases. Up to now, it's still there, and there's nothing we have seen about it. No results as we speak. Adjournment, dismissal of cases, media trial is what we are just seeing. Most of these corruption cases. To me, there's nothing going on differently from what we have seen from the previous years.
All right. The issue of corruption, just like Sunday opened with, is also coming, putting a lot of public officials at the front burner of conversation as to what exactly should be the mindset heading into public offices, and what exactly should be the modus operandi. Just recently, the presidential media chat the president had with journalists, he mentioned that perhaps he was thinking his assets should be declared by the Code of Conduct Bureau. And Sarah just yesterday said, Mr. President, do this quickly. Perhaps you, your vice president, and those at the National Assembly, what significant you think this will be going forward? Perhaps it's a step to take.
That we don't really say the truth. Many of us hide under one finger. The president has actually declared his assets to Code of Conduct Bureau, but has he made it public? That is another thing. The vice president has done this, has he made it public? But the issue of corruption is not limited to those in public offices. We should check other critical sectors. Let us look at the security architecture. We should look at civil service. We should look at people who are traders. Trading, those traders will have what we call this measurement, this thing being manipulated. It's still part of corruption. You see many people keeping people's files until they bring out something. That is still part of corruption. People going to vote to collect money is still part of corruption. So we should not limit corruption to those in public as commissioner or governor or minister that can steal without the connivance of
to the average person.
Yes, without the bureaucracy. So we should look at that, not just
So the fight against corruption should be holistic.
Look at it. Look at what this young man delivered to be said about judiciary. If the trial comes, you know that judiciary will quick. So there are a lot of things that we need to address in this country, not just using mouths to fight corruption. We should go beyond media trial or media hype about corruption.
Has there been any improvement in the way and manner? Was in 2023, and then we've had off-season elections in 2024. Do we really, or can we really pinpoint any improvement in our electoral process?
I will say one thing. Before, now I've witnessed elections. 1999, 2003 till date. You know, it is graduating.
Okay.
First, there was a time.
Graduating positively or negatively?
Well, I wouldn't say. Don't let me answer that question. But you will be able to say it,
Okay.
whether it is positively
Let's hear your
or
submission.
negatively. In 2003 to 2007, we used to have talks. You know, you recruit a lot of talks to help you manipulate the election. You know, you go to the voting unit, cast the ballot, take it away. But as from 2011, when there was introduction of card reader, it's reduced. Now in 2015, we saw the improvement leading to the exit of a sitting president. And the man lost the election. He knew he lost the election, and there was no protest, no nothing, and he left. But 2019, the man had to manipulate the election himself, because from analysis from the tribunal, from the what it was, but not in terms of using thuggery. No, not in terms of it. We now got to the situation where the higher your money, the higher your votes, and it's continued like that till 2023. Well, let me just say that off-season election, a bit of moderation, because everybody will come out. No governor will leave the state to come and help you canvass votes as it is, or as it was in off-cycle elections that we have witnessed this year. So it won't be like that. All governors will be in their state trying to make sure they have senators.
You feel something is wrong with having senators, ministers, governors from other states coming in camaraderie to support someone?
That's extremely wrong. For instance, in the last election, we had in Ondo State, we have governors of Oyo and Osun coming to support the candidate of PDP. We have governors of other states of APC also coming to Ondo State to give support to the candidate of this here and there. And we have a lot of things going on that needed to be attended to. Yet we left those things. We are coming to for political. I think we should go beyond that.
All right. Since you mentioned the issue of security, I'm tempted to also go that way with you to talk about the improvement or otherwise that we've seen in the era of August 18, 2024. It says 2,140 Nigerians kidnapped in 7 months as insecurity worsens. You have a background in the security sector.
See, let me just say something. I spoke with a top military brass when we reported the story of the kidnap in Aboko.
The Anglican Church.
Yes. And that man looked at me and said, come. Do you know there's connivance? People have seen this thing as business. I said, how, sir? He said, let me tell you, those young men who supposed to live in the cities to be doing alright, sir, and living
their
homes for foreigners in quotes. We wouldn't know, maybe they are Malians or Shadians or Nigerians or people from the northern parts of the country farming in those areas. And farm, you have left the farm. You have come to Akure to see politicians raise 2 hands to take handouts. Are you getting it now? So it is connivance with the people. Now let us look at it this way. Foreigners in quotes. How come that they don't get those people fished out? We read a report this month about the number of trillion paid as ransom. So it has become business. It was in those days we say bomo, they take somebody for ritual purposes or something like that. But it has gone beyond that. They no longer do that. What they now do is kidnap for ransom. We have not known how much was paid to release the Anglican priest and his family. We don't know yet. But assuming, without considering that it's just 2 million, how many, that, because it was reported, how many cases that were then reported and they have paid ransom and they have moved on?
But in 2025, as we approach 2025, the budget pushed to the National Assembly by the President, the bulk of that budget is targeted at addressing the issue of insecurity and economy.
Yes.
Tell us, a significant improvement money-wise.
It's about 28% increase from that last year.
What are your expectations?
You see, it's about 28% above that of last year. I mean, the amount of money budgeted for security and the economy. I know the people say the secret not do their businesses without being molested. I think the people, foreigners or even people who come and invest in the economy, and people with business will boom. There's a situation where we are even afraid to go to farm. How do you now want to make money? Are you getting it now?
Very
so
well,
I think one, the government should look at who are those people handling our security. What is the recruitment process? If somebody is a known thief in the street and they are being known roughneck and should get enrolled, recruited into the police, we have planted corn, and you see at that kind of thing, or you recruited a known Boko Haram, we call himself repentant Boko Haram, and you employ them into the military. And this kind of people will, over the years, rise through the ranks and become Major General, and thereabout. So we have people
outgoing. I think Zaid has given us a coinage on that. There's also something. Just this morning, River State Governor Simi Fubara was saying that he will surmount the problem, that he will win the battle. I think that's how he put it. He will win the battle against Wike. The Wike Fubara force has been one that's significant in the history of the political arena in that state.
Yes.
What does it portend?
Even in Nigeria,
political life?
even in Nigeria, if you look at what are the issues that shaped this ongoing or outgoing year, river crisis, economic hardship and the protests, cabinet reshuffle, these are the things that actually shaped this year. Fubara, Wike, I think people have addressed this issue severally, and because of the sensitivity of the nature of that crisis, once you say this, they will say you have taken side. So it's better that the people involved should sit down and resolve this issue. You see the man talking to Odele, Wike, that he you are a minion to him. This is somebody whose wife was a Supreme Court justice. This is a man who's a medical doctor. So why do you say you are bringing him out from political activity? Somebody was 2-term governor who wanted to be president of this country. But we have the political system of this country has promoted people beyond their capacity. And once you are promoted beyond your capacity, the tendency is there that you misbehave. Many of these people who are in public places, they don't have the intellectual capacity to manage the offices they are occupying. So I think that is part of the recruitment process. You don't just use political offices to compensate people. You get competent people to man offices.
All right, so 2025 will be another time to test Nigerians going forward and how they will respond to the things that have shaped 2024.
Exactly.
But part of what shaped 2024, or is still shaping 2024, is the federal government's move to say, look, local government autonomy has to come, has to stay, has to be functional. Tell us about what you've observed. made that move through the Attorney General.
You see, I think it's one of these things that one of the pluses of Tinubu's administration, and I pray he sees it through. Before, look at what happened in Edo State. Edo, the outgone governor of Edo State, wanted to send them back in. It took the intervention of the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice to say, you have no such capacity considering the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. Yes, local government is seen as appendage of the state, but that is not what the Constitution meant it to be. It's supposed to be a local government on its own, a government that is close to the grassroots. And you see that in Ondo State now, by January 18, they will be having local government election. That means the elected people will be responsible to the citizens, unlike just appoint anybody to the office of the chairman of local government, supervisory councillors, no nothing. So with this, people will be engaged at the grassroots level. I know in around 2007, the bridge in my house was constructed around my area, was constructed by a councillor because he was elected and it's part of his constituency project. That small bridge, you know. So once the local government is functioning, there will be less pressure on even the states. People will no longer come to Akure to go and be staying in the governor's office. They want to see the governor. Rather, they will rather go to their local governments to see their local government chairmen, see their councillors, see their family councillors. I think getting local government functional is a task that must be done.
All right, let's see, just like you mentioned, hoping that the president will see this through.
Yeah, sure.
Nigerians will get
and we are praying that he sees it through, so that people will be engaged at the grassroots.
All right.
Well, before we close up in this conversation, I think the basic reason we're doing a retrospective look at the year 2024 is that so we would have a better experience in the next year and not a bitter experience. So what would be your recommendation if indeed we'll get it right, especially in two areas? We were not able to touch one of them, the judiciary and also the political arena.
You see, one, the recruitment processes must be looked into.
In the political arena?
Both at the judiciary.
Okay.
In a situation where a judge is recommended by a politician, and that judge rose through the ranks and get to the Supreme Court, that man will say this is the payback time. So we must look at how people get into